What's up YouTube? Welcome back to Jackal Gold Games, and in this video I'm going to be giving my first impressions for Silent Hill Homecoming on the Xbox 360. I also want to give a real quick shout out to Larry the Batman fan. He's the one that sent me this game. He's the reason I'm able to even play this game, so shout out to him. Really appreciate him sending me this game. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. So I started playing Silent Hill Homecoming on the Xbox 360 yesterday. I made it up until the junkyard where you get the pistol from Curtis and you fight a new enemy outside. That's the part where I stopped at. So what I think of Silent Hill Homecoming so far after playing it is I've really been enjoying this game. Right off the bat, this is a huge step up from Silent Hill 4 The Room because it doesn't have the dumb shit that Silent Hill 4 The Room did, where you had stupid unkillable enemies, a stupid room system that was tedious and made the game longer than it should have been, and it just overall didn't really feel like a Silent Hill game. This game is way better than it so far. It feels more like a Silent Hill game. One of the things that's really nice about Silent Hill Homecoming, coming from the games all before that I've played and going to this one, it's such a nice upgrade with some of the things you get to have now with this Silent Hill Homecoming game. Being able to finally play a Silent Hill game in fully over the shoulder camera angle is so nice. It feels so much better, so much more smooth. Being able to have gun combat and over the shoulder now is also very nice. Being able to go through doors that are not loading screens for the most part. There's a few doors that's a loading screen, but most of the doors you go through in this game aren't loading screens. These are all nice quality of life improvements over all the other games. It's really nice, honestly. The gameplay in this game has been very fun. I enjoy it a lot. You have melee combat, you have gun combat. So you have a pipe, you have a knife, and then you have a pistol. And the gameplay's been very enjoyable in this game. What I like about the melee combat in this game is that, first of all, this game has one of the better knives. It has one of the better knives in video games I've seen, and one of the better knives in the Silent Hill series. I like how when you're in melee combat with the enemies, while you're in melee combat with the enemies, you can move left or right and dodge the enemy's attacks while attacking them. So you can do some ducking, dodging, and bobbing and weaving, going left or right with your weapon and attack the enemies, and it's really nice. I like the way the melee combat works in this game. It's pretty awesome. The steel pipe in this game is really good as well, has some really good range. The gun combat is really good in this game as well. It's so nice to be able to finally aim over the shoulder, third-person shooter style when you're attacking your enemies. So much better, so much more fluid. A huge improvement compared to the old game's gun combat system. The pistol feels real nice. I also like that in the gameplay, you can switch weapons on the fly with your D-pad. That's really nice and very convenient, and definitely a nice upgrade from how you had to manually switch your weapons out by constantly pressing the pause button in the older games and going to your inventory. So I like that about this game as well. You also have, notes you can read in the game telling you lore about the game, the world itself. You read certain things in the world, it tells you about what's going on, it tells you about things about the characters and the main character itself. So I like the exploration in the game as well. I'm glad we're actually back in a Silent Hill town because I feel like we were getting away from that with Silent Hill 4. Even Silent Hill 3 to an extent. I enjoyed that one, but that game even was kind of getting away from the Silent Hill town. And I'm glad we're kind of going back to that with Silent Hill Homecoming because I feel like that's such an essential part of the series that I really like. So I like the town aspect that's back in this. Very interesting areas to explore. I like the town. I like the city hall area you go into. I like Alex's house that you explore. Just a very good location and a good setting. So that's what I think of like the gameplay and the combat and exploration. So let's talk about the characters of this game. I think the characters for Silent Hill Homecoming so far have been really cool. I really like the main character that we're playing as this time around. We're playing as this guy named Alex who was in the military. He was discharged. He's coming back home, and you have to find his brother Joshua. I really like the main character. It's cool to play as like a badass military guy. I feel like I can get behind him. He's pretty cool. I like the aspect of him needing to find his brother, and I like some of the stuff we find out in the story about how there was some tension in his family where like he was kind of, it seems like he's treated as like the black sheep and the outcast of the family, and his brother had some favoritism played towards him. That stuff is interesting to learn about, and I can kind of relate to parts of this story because I have a brother myself. So that's why I think it's cool that in this game you are looking for your brother. I think it's a little more unique because most games it's just somebody looking for their significant other or a parent looking for their child. I think someone looking for their sibling, like their brother, it's a little bit more different, and I do like that. And I can relate to it in that aspect as well because they mentioned how there was favoritism played between Alex and his brother, which I can kind of relate to that because that's what happened to me in my real life when it came to one of the people from my family. So I can relate to that. And I think the characters are pretty cool. You also have the mayor character you met. She seems pretty cool. You also have Curtis, who is in the junkyard. He seems like kind of an asshole, but he is interesting at the same time. He can fix up all these things. He seems interesting. Alex's girlfriend, who you meet, Ellie or Elle, however you say her name, she seems like an interesting character. Another character that shows up in this game is Tucker from Silent Hill Origins, which it's really cool to see him. He's driving this truck and has Alex in there. This shows up after the intro sequence when you're in the hospital, which is a pretty cool area. And he's driving Alex back to this town, which in this game it's called Shepherd something. I can't quite remember what the name is. I also think the voice acting in this game is pretty good as well. It feels like blue collar type voice actors. I don't recognize most of the voice actors in this game, so I like the voice acting in this game. It's pretty good. To talk about the story, I think the story so far seems interesting. You're playing as Alex, who is looking for his brother, and now that he's back home, he's trying to figure out what's changed there and what's going on there. So, when it comes to the atmosphere of the game, I think the atmosphere in this game is pretty good as well. I like the setting. I think the music in this game is really good too. They've kept the same music composer through the whole series, this guy named Akira. I don't remember his last name. He does a really good job composing music for the series, and he did a good job composing music for this game. So the music in this game is really good. I like a lot of the music that plays. I think the creatures and enemies in this game are pretty cool. I really like the creature designs in here. You have the dog enemies, which they look like they've just been skinned alive with just red all over them. They look pretty cool. I like the enemies that crawl on the ground. They have like claws, and they have like a face that has like a mouth, but no eyes, nose, or anything, just a slit in the middle with teeth. Those enemies look pretty cool. So, and then you have the nurses in the hospital. All the enemies are really cool. They look awesome so far. And I think the enemies have been cool. You have a flashlight you can use, like most Silent Hill games. You have med kits and first aid kits you can pick up. Another thing that I think is pretty cool with Silent Hill Homecoming is in this game you have dialogue options. So all of the characters you talk to, you can choose what your main character says to them. So I think that's pretty cool and interesting. Visually, I think the game looks pretty good. You know, for the 360 era, this game came out in 2008. I like the visual style of this game, very dark, very horror-like, very just it has a really good visual style to it, and I like the visual aesthetic of this game, and it just fits Silent Hill more. Because while the Silent Hill 4 visuals were nice, especially on an emulator, which helped, the cel-shaded style, I suppose, is probably a part of why I didn't feel like a Silent Hill game. The Silent Hill games were never really cel-shaded. So, this isn't cel-shaded like Silent Hill 4. This is also the first Silent Hill game that's not made by the original team they had. Because I know with the Silent Hill series with 1, 2, and 3, and 4, they had a certain team that made all those games. And I heard 4 was the last one they made. I'm not sure who developed Origins, but I heard 4 was the last one they made. So this is actually Konami working with a different studio. And I think they're doing a good job so far. And this game kind of reminds me of like Dead Rising 2, where it's a safe video game sequel, you know, where it tries to be more of like the same of what you want from Silent Hill. And I don't think that's a bad thing because of some of the crap from Silent Hill 4 that I didn't care for. So now, in terms of some negatives for Silent Hill Homecoming, there's only like two things I will give some criticism for that I don't care for in this game. I noticed this game, like a lot of the other Silent Hill games, has a noise grain filter where when you play the game, visually there's like this graininess to it. And in some of the games you could turn it off. In Silent Hill 2, you had to beat the game to turn it off. Unfortunately, in Silent Hill Homecoming, from my knowledge, on Xbox 360, you cannot turn off the grain filter, which I think is annoying. I don't care for when they do certain things like this with games, whether it was Shinji Mikami trying to be more cinematic with the Evil Within with the black bars on top and bottom, or games like this that have the stupid grain. They don't do anything for me. They're dumb. These games are not movies. These are video games. So I hate the fact that you have a grain in this game and you can't turn it off. I don't know if that changes when you beat it, but from my knowledge, it cannot be turned off, which is a real shame. And then another flaw with the game is you can only carry a certain amount of ammunition compared to other Silent Hill games, which that's a shame. So those are like the only two negatives I can think of so far with this game. This has been a really good game. I'm having a blast with it. I can't wait to play more of it. It's going to be very fun to play the rest of this game. I've been having a blast playing the Silent Hill series, and I've really been enjoying it. That's pretty much it for my first impressions for Silent Hill Homecoming.